Hello, welcome to my kitchen. I'm Lois Johnson, sometimes called the Muffin Lady. At LPC, we have elders, and I was Christian caring elder, and I was having difficulty having people wanting to have a visit. And I would call them and tell them who I was and that I'd like to come see them. And they'd give me an answer, something like, "Oh, I'm fine, don't bother. There's no need for a visit." And after a while, that got to be a little frustrating, and I tried to figure out a way that we could fix that. So I thought if I offered some fresh baked muffins, that might be helpful. And it has been. I can honestly say that since that addition occurred, I have not been turned down for a visit. Oh, excuse me, I did one time, but we fixed it later. So what I'd like to do this morning, or afternoon, or whenever you're watching, is show you a recipe that I got back in 1974 when my daughter's best friend's mother made these muffins and sent us away on a vacation trip with them. And she put a little note in the bag and said, "Be prepared, you might have to eat them with a spoon." There were so many blueberries in them. So this is Margie Jones' recipe, and I told her that I was going to share it, and she said that was just fine. And believe it or not, I have the original card that she wrote the recipe on, and I put it in a plastic bag to keep it from getting all messed up. So what we're going to do is follow Margie's recipe. So the first thing that's on it is we need either 1/3 cup of margarine or 1/3 cup of butter. And we put that in the bowl. And then the next thing that goes is 1/3 cup of sugar. And then those two things get creamed together. If you want to use a hand mixer, you can. If you want to use a whisk, that usually works well. It must be cooler than normal today because it's not going into cream state as quickly, but okay, I think the egg's gonna pull it all together, so we'll do that. Okay, the egg came from a free-range chicken, so there is a little bit of an embryo in there that I don't want. So we're going to get rid of that. Okay, and I need to whisk this up. Yes. what we've got in the bowl now is our sugar, an egg, and butter. Okay, then we have to get ready with our flour mixture that's going to be combined with that. And we need a cup and a third of flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and a quarter of a teaspoon of salt. So, flour. One-third cup flour. Two teaspoons of baking powder. And a quarter of a teaspoon of salt. I have a trash can under here. So anything that falls over is going to go in the trash can. Okay, now these get put together. Okay, now the liquid that gets added in between the flour additions comes from our orange. So we need the zest, the outside that has almost, actually it has more vitamin C in it than the juice. So we're going to zest the orange. This is a really nice gadget. I got it at Bed Bath & Beyond, and I've used it for several years, and it's held up very, very well. Before this, I was using an old-fashioned grater that had 4 sides, and I did my knuckles in more than once on that one. This one, no problem. Get the juice, you cut it in half so that it's sectioned like so. Let's see if I've got enough. I like the little pieces of orange in there too, so I'm not going to waste that. Okay. I need 1/3 cup, and I'm not there yet. So I'm gonna do a little bit more here. And there still is more in the orange, so we can get it. Okay, we're almost there, but the exact amount of liquid is important because it has to balance out the flour. So I'm just going to add just a touch of water. Okay, we're good to go. So we've got our 1/3 cup of orange juice and 1/2 teaspoon of grated orange rind. That's it. If I mashed it down, it would be 1/2 exactly, but I'm going to leave it mashed up because I want it to separate in the batter. Smells wonderful. Smell the fresh orange. Okay, the hardest part's all done. Okay, now the blueberries, I've used many different kinds. I've used fresh ones when they're in season. I've used frozen ones when that's all that was available. But the best deal comes from the dollar store. The frozen blueberries come in a bag and contains 2 cups. 2 cups for $1, and that's a steal. So I've never had any problems with them. Occasionally there'll be a stem in that has to be picked out, But what you do is just open the bag, put them in a strainer, run them under water at the sink, let them drain, dump them in, and you can see why she said you might have to use a spoon, because there's a lot of blueberries there. And blueberries are the #1 antioxidant that's recommended for people to have daily if possible. So it's a healthy thing that we're doing. And recently I've been putting in a tablespoon of organic flaxseed to increase the nutritional value too. And that I just get at Marshall's, and they got good deals on it. Okay, we're ready to put them in the muffin tins. Putting paper inside of the tin makes it easier to serve them, and it also makes it easier to clean up your pan. So I found that using a 1/2 cup dipper makes it easy to get the same amount in every one. And they bake at 350 for 25 minutes. So I'm going to turn the oven on. And by the time I get finished, hopefully the oven will be warmed up and we'll be ready to go. For the cinnamon sugar, I mixed that up myself. I just took a container and put 1/2 sugar and 1/2 cinnamon and shook it up. It's much less expensive to do it yourself, and you can change the amount of cinnamon, and I like to have a lot of cinnamon. So just sprinkle this on the top. I have one lady who doesn't like cinnamon, so when I'm taking muffins to her, I always leave a couple plain. All right, as you see, this is kind of a process. It takes a while. The results, I think, are worth it. But if you don't have time to go through all of that, I'll tell you the cheap secret, how you can get almost the same result, but much faster. This is a muffin mix called Krusty's Wild Blueberry Muffin Mix, and almost all the grocery stores sell it. And it has inside of it a little teeny weeny can of wild blueberries and the bag of mix. So doing it this way is very quick and doesn't have all of the things that we had to use individually. It just has the one bag of mix, and what you start out with is 2 eggs for this one, and vegetable oil and water, which you mix together in the one bowl. Then you cut the top off the mix bag, dump it in, stir it up, open the can of baby blueberries, dump that in, and I still use the frozen blueberries to go with it, so there's a lot of blueberries. And this one only bakes for 22 minutes at a higher temperature, 400. And I would say it's a pretty good runner-up. I have to confess, I don't do this every week. I do this every week. This is still probably #1, but this is a close runner-up. Magic. This is what they look like when they come out of the oven. So this batch has the cinnamon sugar on. It's all finished. It's ready to go. I made this batch with whole wheat flour. So it has a little bit different texture than using the white enriched flour, but the nutrition is up there and it still tastes good. So let me recap. We used 1/3 cup of butter or margarine. We used 2/3 cup of sugar, creamed them together. Then we added 1 egg, and then we alternated the flour mixture that had 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and it had 1 1/3 cups of flour. Those were alternated as we mixed it in. And then we added 1/3 cup of orange juice, 1/2 teaspoon of grated orange rind, and 2 cups of blueberries. So I hope you enjoyed seeing Muffin Lady in action. And if I come to visit you, I hope I'll be bringing some muffins to you. And we want to thank Stephanie for doing our Zoom taping today.